Hi, Dr. Mark Hansen. Remember, I am the needle guy. What I want to do today is I want to show you how I treat particular feet conditions that come into my clinic. The number one foot condition probably is plantar fasciitis. You can treat that either supine or prone, depending on the comfort of the patient and what you're trying to do. So I hope you enjoy this short video. What I'd like to show you is a very effective treatment for any type of foot condition, but especially plantar fasciitis. I use at least 2 needles on the lateral aspect of the foot, 2 needles on the medial aspect of the foot. I like to do 2 needles around the ankle, and then sometimes I will use bladder 57, as I'll show you at the very end. Ideally, you should probably start with the lateral aspect of the foot, is because it's the most tender aspect. You can start the needle, and then if you run into a situation either that, let's say, your needling technique is not what it should be, or that the patient is very sensitive, then you are able to come back to it after you have done the medial points. So the lateral points that you just saw were bladder 63 and bladder 65. Sometimes I may use bladder 64 instead of bladder 63, and it just depends on the patient and the situation that I'm working. But most of the time, the ideal situation is bladder 63, bladder 65. The medial aspect of the foot, I tend to palpate and use spleen 3 and spleen 4. Sometimes I may not exactly hit the point exactly, but if I find that a particular area right by, let's just say spleen 3 is a little bit more sensitive, I'm going to needle that area. The lateral aspect and the medial aspect of the ankle is going to be your kidney 3 and your bladder 60. Again, it doesn't really matter actually which point you do first with the ankle, but you want to find the correct acupuncture point, because both of those points are very effective on their indication and what they will do for any type of ankle and or foot type of problem. Overall, I tend to use a thicker needle. I will use a 30 by 40 millimeter needle on the lateral aspect of the foot, and usually on kidney 3 and bladder 60, and I'm normally using a 30 by 50 millimeter on the medial aspect of the foot. The goal is to get the needle in basically as much as what you can, and you are going to have much success, better success if you can do that. I like to use at least one proximal point, and my go-to proximal point is bladder 57. I slide up the posterior aspect, I find the notch on the gastroc, and I insert the needle. And again, I'm either using a 30 by 40 or a 30 by 50. I hope you enjoyed what you just saw, and hopefully you can learn something from it. My technique is probably no different than a lot of people's, but what I try to do when I'm treating plantar fasciitis especially is I want to get the needles underneath the foot into the tissue. I'm going to use a 50 millimeter on the medial aspect. I'm going to use a 40 millimeter needle in length on the lateral aspect, because I want the needles to go underneath the foot. You're going to get a much better stimulating response that way. And again, I am going to normally use a 30 gauge needle as opposed to a 25 or 22 or 20. My clinical response is that you're going to get a better response if you have a thicker needle. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you want to like this video, I would appreciate that. If you want more content, different type of content, shoot me a text message at the bottom, and I'll try to give you other information. Hope to see you in the future. Take care.